Wondering how to buy Canadian-made groceries and products but feeling confused? No worries. These amazing TikTok creators have put together lists of Canadian versions of your favorite items.
Here's a quick list of Canadian alternatives you can look for at the grocery store. For cheese, instead of Kraft, look for Saputo, Black Diamond, and Armstrong. For ready-to-drink coffee, instead of Starbucks, go to Second Cup and Van Hoot, as well as any of your local coffee shops. For ground coffee, instead of Folgers, look for Nabob and Kicking Horse Coffee. For chips, instead of Lay's, look for Old Dutch, Covered Bridge, and Hard Bite. For cereal, instead of Kellogg's, look for Nature's Path, Barbara's, and Quaker. They've got some products made in Canada. For ketchup, instead of Heinz, look for French's and President's Choice. For bacon and ham, instead of Warmel, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know. Look for Olymels and Grimm's. For chicken, instead of Tyson Foods, look for Lilydale and Maple Lodge Farms. For flour, baking mixes, instead of Pillsbury, look for Robin Hood, Five Roses, and Compliments. For frozen veggies, instead of Green Giant, look for Arctic Gardens, Compliments, and No Name. For tea, instead of Lipton, look for Red Rose and Tetley. They've got some products made in Canada.
For bacon and ham, instead of Hormel Foods, look for Olymel or Grimm's. Instead of Coca-Cola, look for President's Choice sodas or Canada Dry. For chicken, instead of Tyson Foods, look for Lilydale or Maple Lodge Farms. For chips, instead of Lay's, look for Old Dutch, Hard Bite, or Covered Bridge. For store-bought coffee, instead of Starbucks, look for Timmy's, JJ Bean, or Second Cup. For cereal, instead of Kellogg's, look for Nature's Path, Quaker, or Barbara's.
Let's start with prepared in Canada. To legally say this, the product has to have undergone preparation entirely in Canada, but the individual ingredients could come from anywhere. It's kind of like this one, made in Canada from domestic and imported ingredients. And there's a difference between made in Canada and product of Canada. A big difference. When you see made in Canada, it means at least 51% of the direct costs of production and manufacturing was in Canada, and the last substantial transformation of that product had to have occurred in Canada. That means it turns into a completely new product, like tomatoes becoming ketchup. A much better option than made in Canada is product of Canada. For that, 98% of that product has to be Canadian, and everything, ingredients, labor, production, distribution, all that stuff, product of Canada is the real deal, especially when it's made by a Canadian-owned company. It is a higher threshold and harder to find, but they are there. Remember, made in Canada's threshold is at least 51%. That doesn't mean that it's 51%. It could be as high as 97%, but just didn't quite hit the 98% to get the product of Canada.
Would you switch to buying more Canadian products after watching this? Do you find it easy or hard to shop Canadian? Share your experience. Please subscribe for more updates.